Hi friends, welcome back. So in this video, I will be discussing certain important MCQ questions on software testing. So let us discuss one by one and also we'll try to find out what is the answer for it. The first question is the concept of development team in Scrum environment. So in Scrum environment, what is the concept of a development team here? The concept of a development team is it a round organizing, or is it a square organizing, or a parallel organizing, or a self-organizing? Basically, all the Scrum teams or Scrum environments are implemented based on self-organized way. The team is able to organize itself and it is able to deliver the things on its own. That is all about the concept of development team in Scrum environment. And the next question is, what is self-organized team then? Is it managing themselves? We call it as a self-organized team, or is it accountable? Is it the team is accountable, because of that we call it as an organized team, or whether the team is respecting each other, or we calling it as a self-organized team, or if all the above three is performing, then we will call that team as a self-organized team. So the answer is for this, the self-organized team is normally it does all the three things, then only we will call it as the team as a self-organized team. And question is, who helps Scrum team in removing roadblocks or impediments in that given Scrum team? Is it a Scrum Master who is going to resolve the roadblocks for you guys, or a product owners, or a project manager, or all of the above? Normally in Scrum teams, Scrum Master is a key person, who is a person who is going to interact with all the stakeholders. He ensures that he will try to unblock whatever the impediments which that Scrum team will have it. So is the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is the right answer for this question. Then the fourth one is, IT industry is constantly changing. Is it a stagnant, or it is not at all changing? All of the above. Normally the IT industry is getting changed every day because of the technologies evolving every day. Because of that, we will have to answer this. Is the first answer is the right answer. IT industry is constantly changing. Then the fifth question is test manager job. This is related to your test manager role. The test manager job is whether he educates the team, or he improves the team skills, or he consistently work with the team, or all of the above. Normally as a test manager, his job is to, one is he has to educate the team. He also required to help the team to improve their skills, plus he has to work with the team in his day-to-day activity. The right answer is all of the above, because he has to work closely with everybody. Then we will move on to the next question. If your test engineer don't improve their skills from year to year, let's say being a test engineer or any software engineer in that matter, if he is not improving his skills day by day, then what will be his future? Whether will he get a promotion if he doesn't upscale himself, or if he is not improving his skills, or even if he is not going to improve anything, still he get a good job or good salary, or he may not have a good career growth, or still he will get a hike. The right answer is, if he is not going to upgrade, most probably except few occasion or few exception, his career becomes stagnant, or his career may not expand. Let's consider even manual testing versus automation. If you are not going to expand ourselves to the automation skills or additional skills, if you are just limiting ourselves to manual testing, the growth opportunity will be limited for you in IT industry. Then we'll move on to next question. What is a cross-functional teams? Normally this cross-functional teams question will be asked mostly in Scrum related activities. The cross-functional team is nothing but whether it is a different functional expertise, a group of separate teams who does in a certain functional expertise, can we call it as a cross-functional teams, or within the same functional expertise, or multiple team with the same functional expertise, or none of this. Normally, because cross-functional team means there are a group of teams which is having a different functional expertise, that we call it as a cross-functional team. The right answer for this is different functional expertise. That is the right answer, because we will be interacting with the various different functional groups in order to take up the any work in the Scrum team. That is all about a cross-functional teams. Then the next one is impact analysis helps for what purpose? Normally, when do we really do impact analysis, or we can also call it as a root cause analysis. Normally, impact analysis we do is any defects or any bugs which developer fixes it. Whenever developer fixes certain defects, we will have to validate what is the impact for that fix. What are the different areas that fix will have an impact? That is more beneficial while doing impact analysis. While doing impact analysis, whether it is going to help you to add more test cases, or it is going to help you in exit criteria, different tools to perform regression, or how much regression testing should be done. Normally, with this situation, when there is a impact analysis done on the defect with the fixing, what is the impacted areas on the other modules, we will be getting beneficially in terms of identifying the what kind of regression suite we should try to execute in order to avoid any issues later. That is where the impact analysis is more beneficial, especially to identifying the regression suite for execution after certain defect fixes. Then when we move on to the next question is, who does the unit testing? It is very straightforward. Normally, in a normal environment, we call it as a developer very plainly, because unless in certain Scrum teams there is no definition of any roles particularly, or everybody works as a developer these days, then that is the case, only developer. Normally, testers may not do this job when the role defines as a tester. Otherwise, everybody will call it as a developer. Then the right answer is developer. Users, business user normally doesn't do unit testing, plus even business analyst also doesn't do unit testing. Their job is to identify, gather the requirement and provide the clarification of the requirement by the business analyst. Then we'll go to the 10th question. Which of the following is a block box testing? The block box testing, if you guys know it, block box means you won't be bothering what is really implemented inside. You may not go inside the code to understand how that functionality is implemented. That is all about a block box testing. Then when that is the definition of block box testing, is that code analysis part of this question? Not really. Then boundary value analysis, definitely it is one of the technique normally we adopt in block box testing in order to derive the test data for that testing purpose, because we will have to test the boundary conditions. In order to test the boundary conditions, we will have to use this boundary value analysis, and basic path testing, which is again a white box testing, and none of the above. The answer is boundary value analysis, the right answer for this. Then the next question is, which of the following is a non-functional testing? Non-functional testing is nothing but apart from functional testing. Like non-functional, it could be user experience, or it could be performance, or it could be security testing, or it could be localization testing. It could be anything. We call it as a non-functional testing. In this case, because we do not have any different options, we just have a performance testing. This is the right answer for this question. Then we will move on to the next question. What is the alternative name or another name for acceptance testing? What is the different name we have? The different name beta testing, white box testing, or alpha testing, or a gray box testing. Normally, beta testing we call it as a acceptance testing because the acceptance testing is getting done by the business users. Then the next question is the testing in which code is validated, whether we call it as a red box testing, white box, gray box, black box testing. What kind of testing in which code is getting validated? Normally the code is getting validated in white box testing. Then we will move on to the next question. So in order to test unit testing, system testing, and acceptance testing, normally in the beginning of the project, we will be developing a test plan, or whether are we developing a development plan or retest plan or none of the above. Normally in any project, normally test plans will be developed by our test lead or a test manager while taking care of our unit testing, system testing, and acceptance testing. Then when we move on to the next question, testing done without planning and documentation. This is again very important question. There are certain type of testing we normally doesn't have any documentation or doesn't have anything to test as part of our day-to-day job. Normally we call it as that kind of testing, whether we call it as agile testing. Agile testing, normally at least we will have a documentation, but we will have a minimum set of documents. And water testing, again this is not at all a testing. Then regression testing is once everything is ready, test cases are done, we will be executing it in as part of regression testing. But Adhoc testing is the right answer, where we will be doing all kind of testing without having any proper planning or without having any proper documentation. Then the next question is, the software mistakes during code is also known as a what? Normally there are two aspects is there. One, there are certain issues which we get when software being tested. When software being tested by tester, normally we call it as a defect. When developer identify himself, normally we will be calling it as a bugs in place of defects. Certain organization may have different concepts altogether, but in more largely we call it as a bugs when there is a software mistakes which happens during coding. Then the 17th one is, what is the main focus of acceptance testing? The main focus of acceptance testing is, because being a tester or being a developer, we will be testing only as per the requirements given to us. It may happen that those requirements may not be correct as well, or they may not hand over the right requirements to us, or it may happen that we may not gather the right requirements because of various communication gaps, or it could be various reasons as well. Now, because of that, there is a different kinds of testing which we normally do at the end of the releases, which is acceptance testing. Normally, this acceptance testing will be taken care by our business users or end users. They will be testing more on business perspective, their end user perspective. That is all about the main focus of acceptance testing. Then the 18th question is which testing focuses heavily on a particular module. Breadth testing, this is not a word we normally use. Even inter-system testing is not a word we normally use. Even Fuzz testing, which is normally a word used in our testing. The gorilla testing is the last option. Normally we call it as a monkey testing, gorilla testing. At least this is the nearest answer which we can think of, where gorilla testing normally we will be using to test a particular aspects, particular functionality, or a particular module in our testing. Then the next question is, normally when we will be stopping our testing. This is also very important questions which will be asked in any interview in that matter. The testing can be closed in various aspects, right? So it can be closed in various aspects, but this is a very tough question to answer here. The defects or bugs, they are completely fixed. Then we stop our testing, or all our testings are done, then we'll stop our testing, or time is completed, are we going to stop the testing? Or all the risks are resolved, are we stopping the testing? That is the question here. That is the question here. The right answer for this is, by closing all the bugs or by closing all the defects, we won't be stopping our testing in that matter. Even after running all our tests doesn't mean our complete testing is done. No. Then even when time is completed, being a test lead or test manager, we may not close the testing project. Normally, whatever the risk we identify, whatever the risks which we feel, those risks we cannot see for the client, then only we'll release the product to the client. Unless if we see there is a risk, there is a huge risk in the product, huge risk in the application, definitely we doesn't allow to ship the product to the client. That means we will be ensuring that all the risks are taken, all the critical risks are resolved, or all the critical risk is having a right mitigation plans which doesn't impact our client. That is also we are going to watch as part of our when to stop our testing. The answer for this here, the right answer is risks are taken or risks are resolved completely. Then the next one is software testing with the real data in real environment is known as a, whether it is alpha testing, beta testing, regression testing, or none of the above, which I just discussed earlier. Normally the beta testing is very close to the production like environment, where beta testing will be done by the end user or a customer, which is more of a production like environment. But in alpha testing will be done and more of a in-house testing, which is done by the different stakeholders altogether within the same organization. But beta testing, which is done by the end users, regression testing, again it is done by our testers. So when we talk about a real data, real environment, then it is more of a beta testing is the right answer for this. Then the 21st question is SDLC. What is all about SDLC? They have provided 3 options here. Normally SDLC is nothing but software development lifecycle. That is the expansion for that term SDLC. The answer for this is software development lifecycle is the right answer. Then the next question is R-draft testing. This is also very crucial. Just to confuse you, they will be giving this kind of question for you in any test or any interview as well. Basically, types of testing in software testing will have certain order will be there. We should understand what is the order all about. The first, normally there will be a unit testing will happen. Once the unit testing is done, then we will have integration testing will happen. Then the integration testing, once it is happening, then we will have a system testing will happen. Then after system testing, we will have a acceptance testing. That is all about the flow of the testing, right? After system testing, we will also do regression testing also, but we have those options are not there. Now we will have to limit ourselves with these options. Now we will see what is the right answer here. The right answer is unit testing, integration testing, system testing, then unit system, then system integration, then acceptance integration. The right answer is the unit, integration, and system testing. Basically, we will be starting with the unit testing, then integration, then followed with the system testing. That is the right order of our testing. Then the next question is, which is a type of testing we normally do in the beginning, even when the application is not available for us, is black box testing will be normally done once the application is ready. Even white box is also more of when the code is ready, we will be testing that. Dynamic testing, static testing will be done for this. That is the answer for this. Then the 24th is when we will set the bug status as a postponed. This is also very practical and tricky questions which you should answer. When we will set the bug status as postponed. Normally postponed means we will be postponing that defect to the future releases. Defect, we won't be fixing it in the current release, but we will be fixing it in the next release. What are the reasons for it? The priority of the bug is maybe low, maybe that is a right answer. Lack of time for the release, then the bug may not be a major effect in the software, data may be unavailable. when we will postpone the defects is when that issue is not a major issue, or that issue which is not impacting us for the client. That is the where we will be postponing. So that means the bug may not be a major effect. Then we will be taking a call that we will be moving on to the next one, next releases. Lack of time release, then normally we won't postpone, because if it is a critical defects, we cannot postpone it. Even priority of the bug may be low, but if the client says that client is having impact, then you will have to fix it. Data may be unavailable. Again, this is not the right answer. The right answer is any issues, any defects which is having a lesser impact to the client, then we will be taking care of that bug to the next release. Next question is a test technique which we use randomly without plan. Earlier we discussed about this. We call it as Adhoc testing, where we do not have anything. Similarly, we have three options here: monkey testing, agile testing, baseline testing. Baseline testing will have a right planning, right infrastructure, right planning, right things we will be doing as part of our testing. But agile testing also, again, this is also again a well planned testing which we do. But this monkey testing is the right answer for this. As if we are monkeys, we will be testing the application. That means there is no proper planning, there won't be any proper things in order to complete the testing. Next question is, when an expected results not written in the test cases, what will happen? Normally, whenever we write the test cases, we will be writing both expected, then after execution, we will be writing the actual one. Let's say if we are not going to provide expected results, then what will happen? Let's say if a new person try to execute that test cases, if he doesn't know what is the expectation of the test case, then definitely he cannot execute the test case at all. Then the answer for this: difficult to run the test cases, difficult to say pass or fail, automation is not possible, we cannot execute the test cases. Fourth one is, I can say we cannot execute the test cases, because if you are not very much clear, you should not go and execute the test case. Difficult will be there, but after executing everything, let's say even steps are not clear, we will go and execute it. But as an outcome of the test case which we are not clear, then definitely we should not go and try that option. That is all about the right answer for this. We cannot execute the test case unless all the expected results are available in your test case. Then the next one is, who is responsible for sprint meeting? The sprint meetings will be done at our Scrum meetings level. The Scrum Master, Scrum teams, product owner, all of the above. Normally the sprint meetings will be done by Scrum Master, who takes care of all the activities within that team. Then again, this is another question related to test manager. So what if you wanted to ask a certain questions about your test manager, they can ask in this way. The role of the test manager is to find out when the release of the application. This is also one of the activity you may perform, or allocating the resource, or report projects, deviation to the stakeholder, or raise the defects. In certain places, it may happen that all four you might be doing by the test manager. If there are only 2 or 3 resources are there, test manager may do all these activities himself. But which is the critical out of this 4 option is, as a manager, his main role is, because he is a senior position role, and his main role is to report the project issues to the stakeholders, so that stakeholders will have a clear picture that where the entire testing is moving. That is the major role of a test manager. Then the next question is, which type of testing does by the developer? Normally integration testing will be done by our integration tester or normal tester. Verification testing is also done by our testers. Normally unit testing will be done by the developer. So next question is, which testing is to test the entire application? What type of testing we call it as a testing the entire application is, whether it's a unit testing. Unit testing is more of a model perspective. Acceptance testing, it is done by end user, but you won't be testing everything. Only related to business perspective, critical functionality will be executed by our in the acceptance testing. System testing is the right answer, because system testing will be done across entire system. Integration also you won't be testing everything in integration, but as a system we will be trying to test end-to-end perspective for all of our testing. Then the next question is, which is used in usability testing, whether white box testing, black box testing, gray box testing, all of the above. The usability testing is nothing but where we have a user interface. User interface is nothing but UI. Which kind of testing normally we will be doing for the UI functionality is black box testing, where we will be more focusing on the experience perspective, user experience perspective. That kind of testing we call it as a black box testing. When normally the customer says the product quality is good, the product implemented as per the specification, the product is very excellent, product has a very few bugs, product meets the customer expectation. Because when some customer has to say the product quality is good, the product is good, that means the product which we implemented is meeting the customer expectation. That is the right answer. When any product which meets the client expectation or customer expectation, then that product is of a good quality. So which below status is not a bug life cycle? So verified is definitely a bug life cycle, deferred is definitely a bug life cycle, critical, basically critical will be using for assigning the severity, the criticalness of the defect. Normally this is not a bug life cycle. This one postponed is also will be using in bug life cycle, but critical normally will be using when we are assigning a severity or a priority of the defect. Next question is, especially if you are working in Agile, this is a very important question. What happens when sprint items cannot be completed? Let's say in a sprint we have planned certain items. If certain items which we are not able to complete it, what we do? Can we extend our complete sprint? Normally we don't extend the given sprint. 2 week sprint is 2 week sprints. We won't be extending to 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Then sprint ends with the done items. Whatever items which are done, we will make it as done, and whatever which is not completed, we won't be cancelling as well. And unfinished items will be removing from the sprint backlog. That is also not correct. Only we will be ending the sprint with the done items only, and remaining things will put it back to the sprint backlog. We won't be removing from the sprint backlog, but whatever the items which are not completed, then we will be either we will be moving to the next sprint, or we will be putting back to the sprint backlog based on the priority of that user story. Planning and documentation. Planning and documentation is a part of which testing? Adhoc testing, normally we don't do much anything planning. Fuzz testing also you won't be doing. Monkey testing also you won't be doing. Majorly, whenever we are trying to do end-to-end testing, whenever we try to do end-to-end testing, we will be doing planning and documentation.